Hi everyone, WebDuns here. In today's video we're going to make two wedding rings. We're going to make a large wedding ring and a smaller wedding ring. You could consider it a wedding ring set. We're going to make a size 6, US size 6, and we're going to make a US size 12. We will come to the front view. We'll start with the smaller ring. We'll come to the front view and lay in the sizing circle. A size 6 is going to be about 16.51 millimeters. Depending on where you look it up, it might be a little different than that. Okay, I'm going to pull the curved seam to the top, and I'm going to make this be 1.5 millimeters wide. No, I'm sorry, 2.5 millimeters wide and 1.5 millimeters thick. So I'm going to lay in a line right here. I'm going to snap it to the top of the ring. I've got project turned on, and we'll activate both sides in the command line, and I said I would make it 2.5 millimeters wide, so I'm going to type 2.5 divided by 2, and that's going to make a 2.5 millimeter wide line, and I will offset that by 1.5 because I'm going to make it 1.5 millimeters thick. We'll just kind of zoom in on the shape here. This is going to be kind of like the cross section of the ring. I'm going to put a comfort fit arc on the bottom. I'm going to make that be a 0.2 millimeter thick arc. So I've offset this curve here by 0.2 millimeters, and we'll click on the arc tool, click on start point, and we'll click on a start point, an end point, and then our midpoint. I'm going to do kind of the same thing at the top. I'm going to give it a 5 millimeter arc, 5 millimeters tall. So I'm going to offset this top line by, I'm sorry, I said 5 millimeters. I meant 0.5 millimeters. 5 millimeters would be just really huge. So we'll hit this arc again, the arc tool. We'll click on start point, start, end, midpoint. We'll delete these two lines. I'll put straight lines here on the two sides, and we'll connect everything, join everything together. We'll zoom out, and I will use, there's two ways you could do this. You could use I can't remember what it's called. I click on it all the time, but sweep one rail. So you can use that. Click on the round curve, click on sweep one rail, click on your cross section curve, hit enter a couple of times, and that makes the ring. Another way that you can do this is you can click on the cross section shape and click on Revolve. You need to define an axis. So our axis will start from the center of the world. I'll hit 0 and enter, hold down shift, and just pull out so that it goes, if you're in perspective view, so that it follows along this axis here. Hit enter, or not hit enter, click, and then hit enter and enter. Now you can't really just hit enter. I'll do that again. We start the axis, I hold down shift and pull to the side a little bit, and it will follow that line there. Then you really need to pay attention up here. We want the start angle to be 0. If it isn't 0, you type 0 and hit enter. We want the revolution angle to be 360. If it is not 360, you type 360 and hit enter. So it was already set to those defaults, and so it will work if it's already set to those defaults. So those two ways that you can make a ring. I tend to use the Revolve, but you can use whichever one you want, of course. All right, so we've got the smaller ring done. We will go ahead and make the larger ring. Come back into the front view. We're going to make it a size 12. So we'll lay in the sizing circle, and a size 12 has a diameter about 21.49 millimeters. I will move the curve seam up to the top here, and we'll lay in the profile from the side view, or you could say the cross-section curve. I'm actually going to duplicate this curve here, So I'm going to grab, come up to transform and come to the copy command. I'm going to have project turned on. I'm going to click on the bottom of this. I'm going to snap to the bottom of this cross-section curve and just lift it up and snap to the top of the sizing curve for the larger ring. And then I'm going to hit enter to exit that command. So now we have a copy of that cross-section shape. I said I want this to be 6 millimeters long, so I'm going to lay in a line right here. I'll snap to the top of the sizing circle of the larger ring. I'll click on both sides. I'll type 3 because that is half of 6. Hit enter and hold down shift and pull out to the side. And then we will scale this. I also want it to be 2 millimeters thick, so I'm going to offset this curve here by 2 millimeters. And we want the profile to fit within this. I'm going to click on the profile shape and we're going to scale it. So I'm going to click on transform. I'm going to click on the scale drop down and we'll choose the 1D scale tool. I will click on this end of the line. You know what, this won't quite work. So what we're going to do is put lines here and also here. And hopefully this will work. I think so. Okay, so again, we will select the profile curve. We'll come to transform, come to the scale drop down and click on 1D scale. We'll click on this end of the profile. We'll click on the other end of the profile and then click on drag out to the left until we come to the, it should snap to the other side of the rectangle that I drew. It should snap if you've got intersection snaps turned on and possibly perpendicular snaps turned on. We'll do the same thing. I'll just hit enter to repeat that command. We'll snap to this side of the profile shape, snap to the other side, and then snap it to the other side of this bounding box. And then we'll do the same thing from the bottom to the top. So we'll snap, I'll run the command again. We'll snap at the bottom and snap at the top of the shape and then snap at the top of the bounding box that I drew. Okay, I'm going to select everything and then hold down control and click on the shape and delete that bounding box. And once again, you have two ways here to make the actual ring. You can either use sweep, I can never think of the command's name, sweep one rail or revolve. I'm going to do revolve again. So I'll click on the profile, click on revolve. I'll press 0 to start my axis, hit enter. I'll hold down shift and pull out to the left. And I know that it's going to have the start angle of 0 and a revolution angle of 360. So I'll just hit enter once and then twice to accept both of those because I just set them a second ago. So, okay, we'll come back out to perspective view and look at our finished rings. So there you go. One thing else you might do, perhaps for the render, for example, is, and let me isolate these real quick so that we don't see the curves. But you might want to fillet the edges for the render. So I'm going to give a 0.2 fillet, and I'll just box select the rings, and it will automatically select all of the edges. So if we go into render view, you know, of course we see this kind of white pasty material, but we can quickly make a metal material here under the materials tab. We can just click on metal and drag that out. It will automatically make this kind of silvery metal. So there you go. Now there is a kind of a weirdness here because they're not on the same ground plane. The ground plane is determined by just whichever object is the lowest. And so we can kind of put a line down here at the bottom of the big ring and just drag this ring down till it's about touching. You don't have to be 100% perfect with this, although you can if you want. So you could zoom in a little bit. You can see that we're not really quite touching that ring, so let's pull that up a little bit, and then we'll pull this up a little bit as well. I'll use the move command in this case. Right about there. If for some reason you want to be 100% accurate on that, you can just flip these around. You can't snap to this end, but you can snap to this end here. So if you just flip these over 180 degrees, both of them, or especially this one, but this one too, really, just flip it over 180 degrees, then you can snap. So I'll draw a line here. I'll snap to the top of that, or the outside of the ring. I'll draw a line over, and then we can use the move command. I'll just move this up a little bit and then run the move command again. We can snap to this ring here and snap to the line. So that's the snapping works on one end and not the other because we put the profile shape up there and I used rail revolve. Okay, so now we've got them both on the same ground plane and we've assigned some materials, and there you go. There are our finished rings. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really do appreciate that. If this is the kind of content that you like, 3D jewelry design is something I'm going to be focusing on for a while, especially in Rhino. I may also do some jewelry design tutorials and other types of videos perhaps regarding jewelry in Blender. And Blender's a lot, in my opinion, a lot more difficult to design jewelry in, but it can definitely be done. And sometimes it does things that are hard to do in Rhino, and it'll be easier to do in Blender. Like if you have a ring that needs to be sculpted, for example, you'd be much better off doing that. You can't do that in Rhino, but you could do it in Blender. But anyway, if this is the kind of content that you like, consider subscribing to my channel. Not only would that help me out, but you would be seeing more of this content. And also, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching my videos, and I hope to see all of you in future videos.